Okay, sit yourself on your lift and just come into a good cross leg position. Hold onto your knees and elevate your heart area upwards. So I'm just changing my battery. So have a little wriggle about, make sure that you're sitting evenly. And that can take a few goes to kind of make sure to kind of identify that you're doing it, that you're sitting even. And then hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. So just stretching yourself out of your body, stretching the spine upwards, but at the same time drawing the shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. After sitting for a couple of moments, just observe, do you need to adjust to make your seat bones feel more even? If you do, then do. Lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down. Take deep inhalations in through the nose. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then bring your hands into Namaste. Just press the palms firmly together, lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. Squeeze the elbows in towards each other, lengthen the fingers up towards the ceiling. And then allow your eyes to gently close. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. Just have the index finger and the thumb connected, stretching the fingers away from the palm. Just a symbol, a gesture of peacefulness and wisdom. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to come back. Hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest, really trying to elevate the spine as far away from the hips as you can. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across the ribs, across the shoulders, across. Just listen to the sound of the breath. And then come back to the center. Hold on to your knees, elevate your heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen and your ribs and your chest across, keeping the neck soft. So listening to the sounds of the breath. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift. Just come onto all fours. Just sitting on the hands, pressing the palms deeply into the mat. Spread the fingers really wide. And then turn your toes under. And then come up into dog down. So keeping the knees bent initially. Just observe how your body is feeling this morning. Where there are areas of resistance. So once you've been in the pose for a little while, make sure that you introduce the conscious breath into the pose. And then start to activate the legs, tighten the kneecaps. Press the fronts of the thighs forwards, lift the seat bones up to the ceiling. Breathe even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Excuse me. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So that wasn't a very calming noise, was it? Apologies for that. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Activating your legs, pressing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards and that the heels start to separate. And then step your feet forwards. Just come up into a standing position. Have a couple of blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. And then bring your feet as wide apart as the mat. Turning your toes inwards. So the heels are as wide apart as the mat. The little toes are as wide apart as the mat. And the big toes are turning inwards slightly. So go and press the big toe down into the floor. And then lengthen from the big toes into the little toes. Tighten the kneecaps. Lift up from the abdomen into the diaphragm. From the diaphragm into the collarbone. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. And then hinge at the hips, keeping the head lifted, keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the elbows winging back. And then reach down. Just bring your fingertips onto the blocks. So coming down with the hands on the hips is just a little easier on your back if you've got kind of lower back issues. So my lower back has been playing up for a couple of weeks, but it's getting there. So otherwise you just come forwards with your arms outstretched. Otherwise just activate your kneecaps, press the kneecaps firmly through to the back of the knee. Push the fronts of the shins through to the backs of the shins so that your weight goes into your heels. And then turn the fronts of the thighs consciously inwards. Turn the fronts of the shins consciously inwards so that you can pick up the seat bones away from the backs of the legs. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards as you go. If you can go down any lower, then do just observing how your body responds to the stretch, just continually working through that sequence of observation and activation so that you become really conscious of the evenness of action or otherwise. If you can reach down to the floor, then do. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards. If you can reach around your ankles and draw yourself in, then do. But I'm just erring on the side of caution, just while my back fully recovers. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the breath. Okay, bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position, bending your knees if you need to. Just move the blocks out of the way, come into Tadasana and just be in Tadasana, lifting up into the chest. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Bring your arms out nice and wide in toward your chest, and then step or jump your feet nice and wide, and then have your hands on your hips for a second. Just allow your legs to just establish on the floor. So maybe if you've had lots of walking during the weekend, your legs might feel stiff. So just observe how they are feeling right now, how they are coping with the wide leg stance. Turn your left toes in slightly, stamping the big toe into the floor, stretching out into the little toe, activating that kneecap, and then turning the right leg all the way out. And then turn the legs outwards from the inside of the thigh to the outside, from the big toe side to the little toe side. Just make sure that your heel is lining up with the instep or the toes, or even go beyond that if you've got stiff hips. And then bring the chest to face the front. Stretch out, lift up into the heart area, and keep the heart area elevating as you come over, finding the shin. Turning the abdomen up to face the ceiling, looking up. Just feel how the pose feels for you today. So the thing with yoga poses is that they always feel different. Maybe the hamstrings feel different. They certainly feel tight for me today. So just observe that. And if there's strong hamstrings on one leg, then try and activate the other leg in the hamstrings to take pressure away. Lift up into that top arm. Breathe in through the nose, pushing your out breath into areas of resistance. Come back to the centre, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Again, just being mindful of the placement of the feet. Lift up into the chest, up into the heart area, and then extend over, looking up. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come into Tadasana. So I think the reason why yoga never gets boring is because there's it's a universe of discovery, isn't it? But every time you come into the pose, it feels different. So my hamstrings feel really tight this morning, so it's nice to stretch them out, but doing it with consciousness and awareness. So breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in towards your chest, and then step or jump, just go a little wider than last time. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out. So we can do parsvakonasana. So you might need a block handy, but just maybe they're nearby anyway, because you had them for the previous for the uttanasana pose. Lift up into the chest. Turn the abdomen to face the front. Turn the legs outwards. So these inner thighs turn outwards. Lift up into the chest. Keep your hands on your hips, and then bend the front knee, bend the right knee, keeping that back leg really firm. Find a right angle, and then reach down. Find the floor. If you can't find the floor this morning, and use block. Be on fingertips on the block. Keep that knee at a right angle, and then turn the abdomen all the way up to face the ceiling, keeping that left leg really firm. Reach up, and I run out of ceiling height here, and over. So you get a really good stretch along that left side of the body. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Keep the feet activated, keep the back leg really firmly activated. Turn the abdomen to the ceiling. And then straighten that front leg, come back to the centre. Just get your breath back. And then turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Lift up into the chest, turning the legs outwards. Bend the knee, find a right angle, and then come down, find the outside of the leg, outside of the floor or the block on the outside of the foot, and then reach over. Turn in the abdomen. You're giving yourself a little extra space with the block if you need it. I just feel like I get more space if I use it this morning. Push the knee into the arm and the arm into the knee. Keep the breath soft and gentle. And then come back to the centre. Bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. So parsvakonasana. is always one of those poses that it's quite challenging, isn't it? And it raises your heartbeat, so it brings your heartbeat quite possibly into the aerobic zone. So be in Tadasana, just allow the breath to settle, allow your heartbeat to settle. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in toward your chest, and then step or jump the feet as wide as you can. If you can use the edge of the mat, the back edge of the mat, to align your heels, then you know your heels are in line. Turn your toes in, even if you have to bend your knees to do it. And then straighten the legs. Straighten the legs, tighten the kneecaps. Your hands on your hips, lift up into the heart area. Lift out of the feet, up into the hips. Up into the heart area, up into the head. Wing the elbows behind you. And then come forwards, hinging at the hips. And then reach down, find the floor. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. So observe, are you putting all of your weight into your hands? Or can you hit your legs back so that your weight goes into your heels, and then your hands become light, like your fingers want to kind of lift off the floor, but imagine that they're kind of glued to the floor. Lift up into the chest, reach from the wrists into the armpits. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. If you can go down a little further, then bring your head down onto the floor with the heels of the hands in line with the heels of the feet. So if you're using the back edge of your mat, you know where your heels, the heels of your hands should go. Just breathing, even deep inhalations and exhalations. If you can reach around your heels, but without around the outside of the ankles, without bringing your weight all the way into the head. Keep the legs hitting back so that your head feels light on the floor. Use a block or a bolster underneath your head if it doesn't reach. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Okay, walk your head forwards, come back to the halfway point. Bring the heels of the hands down. Just step or jump your feet back together and then come up into Tadasana. Just have the inner edge of the feet together, lifting up into the chest. Breathing long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations, exhalations. And then come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart, your feet hip width apart, and then just come up into dog down. Just listening to the breath. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Okay, and then come down. Sit back on your heels, just observe your energy. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just allowing the legs to recover in Virasana. So Virasana is a really good position to sit in if you've got tired legs. So after a walk, sitting in Virasana is a really good way to let your legs recover. Okay, and then just bring yourself into, just down directly onto the floor, and then bring your legs wide apart. So as wide apart as they will go. Now if you feel like you, in this position, you kind of roll onto the back of your seat bones, then sit on a folded blanket. So just give yourself a little lift. You'll need a belt for this pose. Also, you'll need a belt for the next pose, which I haven't got here. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to do that tomorrow. So just lengthen your legs out to the side. Have your hands at the sides of the hips and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, extending from the hips and into the heels. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting up into the chest. And then if there's no problem with your back, then just bring the blocks forwards. You can do this bit even if you haven't got a problem with the back, just this first stage. So bring your hands onto blocks and then work to really lift up into the heart area. So if you've got a bad back and it's going to be aggravated by stretching forwards, then just stay at this stage, just work into, extend into the legs, lifting up into the heart area. So there's plenty to explore just at that first stage. Otherwise, you're just going to bring your hands forwards a little, just keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the chest lifted, extending the spine up towards the ceiling. Just coming forwards a little bit at a time, just observing how your body responds to the pose. Just lifting up into the chest, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So pressing the hands onto the blocks. You can bring your hands onto the floor, but just having the hands on the blocks just gives you a little more space to lift up into the chest. Activating those legs, pushing from the hips into the heels, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. And then come back to the center. Bring your hands onto the blocks. And then lift up into the chest. Observe how the spine elevates up towards the ceiling. Drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. And then just bring your feet together in padottanasana. Hold onto the big toes, or you can always use a belt around the outside of the feet if you can't reach. Just lift up into the heart area. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Just pushing the heels firmly together. Listen to the breath. Just elevating the heart area up to the ceiling. Again, if you sink in the spine. If you're rolling onto the back of the seat bones, sit on a folded blanket. Lengthen the inner groins into the inner knee. The inner knees around to the outer knees in towards the hips, in towards the outside edge of the feet. So these inner legs stretch from the inner heel and the inner groin into the inner knee, around to the outer knee, and then out to the outside edge of the feet and the hips. When you can really activate your legs, you can elevate your spine up to the ceiling with greater energy and observation. Okay, and then just release the legs, and then just come into cross legs, just holding onto your knees, lifting up into the chest, and just open your chest. I'm just looking for the belt for this and exclude, but I'm not 100% sure. My belt is downstairs. We might have to do. I've got a whole bag of belts somewhere. We might have to do parsva sukhasana next time, because you need a belt for it, and I can't find one. So sorry, cat. So we'll just have to sit in cross legs and lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. And then just get a block either side, lift up into the chest. I'm just looking around if there's a spare belt, but I don't think I can see one. Lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area to the ceiling, and then take the underside of the right knee and then bring your right elbow onto the right block, so that elbow is directly underneath the shoulder. Bring your hand onto your hip and then rotate the chest and the abdomen up to face the ceiling. Push your elbow into the floor and then lengthen from your elbow into the seat bone. Turn the chest, reach up and over, lifting out of the hips into the fingertips. Turning the chest, pressing that left seat bone down, pushing that right elbow into the floor, lengthening that left seat bone down. So it's a similar stretch to sukhasana, just not the exact one. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, elevate the heart area upwards, just feeling that stretch of the side ribs. And then just come down, just grab the underside of the left knee, bring your left elbow down onto the floor so that it's underneath the shoulder, and then turn the chest. Push that left elbow into the floor, lengthening from the elbow into that into that right seat bone, turning the chest, and then reaching up and over. So it's the parsvakonasana, sukhasana kind of stretch, turning the chest up to face the ceiling. So breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations. And then come back to the center. Just hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest, elevate the heart area to the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right side, digging the back hand firmly into the floor, turning the abdomen and the ribs and the shoulders, keeping the neck soft, digging the back hand firmly into the floor to help you to elevate the spine upwards. And then come back to the center, lift up into the chest, up into the heart area. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Just come down onto your back and down into supta konasana for a moment, just to rest out the spine. So come down onto the floor, pull the feet toward you, let the knees fall apart. Press the heels consciously together. So when you press the heels and the outside edge of the feet consciously together, then you get this compactness in the hips, and you can turn the tailbone inwards up towards the ceiling. Broaden the abdomen down into the abdominal walls. Stretch your arms up to the ceiling, interlock your fingers, turn the palms all the way out in asana, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. Use blocks underneath your thighs if there's stiffness in your hips. Use blocks or a folded blanket underneath your hands if there's stiffness in your shoulders. Just support yourself so that you don't injure yourself. Just observing the openness of your energy. Just bring your arms up, swap the interlock of the fingers so the other index finger is on the top of the stack, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. Again, keeping the heels consciously stamping together, keeping the tailbone turning up to the ceiling, keeping the abdomen drawing towards the spine. Keeping the arms straight, squeezing the outer elbows inwards. And then release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs, just rest into the floor, just let go of the feet for a moment. Just resting yourself into the floor. And then very gently draw your knees together. Have your knees together, the feet apart. Just adjusting the action on your hips. And then bring your feet close to the seat bones. Have a block handy, and then lift the seat bones up. Come right up onto the tops of the shoulders for setubandha. Put the block into the tailbone, sacrum region of your back, and then hold onto the edges of the mat. Either stay with the knees bent or just stretch the legs out. Just see how that feels for your back. And if that feels okay, then extend your legs away. If not, then have the knees bent. So just a gentle, supported inversion. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards if you've got straight legs. So you do tadasana action on the legs. Feeding the body with your breath, feeling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Just feeding your body with energy. Just bend your knees. Just bring your feet back onto the floor. And then when you're ready, just lift the seat bones, come off the block, even if you have to come up onto your tiptoes to do it. Just adjust your shoulders as you guide your back down onto the floor. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. Oh no, actually before we do that, just come down onto the floor. I nearly forgot shavasana. That would have been a disaster, wouldn't it? So just come up onto your elbows, just straighten your legs down along the centre of the mat. Make sure you're in a really good straight line. Have a blanket just to support the back of your head and the back of your neck. And then just allow yourself to release into the floor. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Soften the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Just allowing yourself to consciously release into the floor, letting the muscles of the arms and the legs release. So that the body becomes heavy and you release that feeling of lightness from the bones, which radiates into the muscles and into the organs. And into the flesh and the skin. That positive energy radiating down into the tips of the toes, into the tips of the fingers, and up into the top of the head, using your breath to distribute it. Basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then very gently roll over onto your right side, just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out your top leg, come back up into a seated position, just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Close your eyes and draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then when you're ready, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel like you've really given yourself a good stretch, given yourself lots of good energy to put into the rest of your day. So thank you very much for joining me.